guys, it's me Jess here and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how I make my tweed jacket. Because this jacket is made from tweed fabric, so it needs to have a lining. But it's super easy to make the lining for this jacket and the result just stunning. So I hope you will like it and check it out. And let's get started. The first step is making the pattern for the jacket. To make the back bodice pattern, I draw a straight line and a horizontal line cutting each other first. From the first straight line, I keep drawing another one 2 cm next to it. From the cutting point between this line and the horizontal line, I mark up 8.5 cm, which is the half of the next side of the jacket that I want. Then drawing a perpendicular line from that mark. The width of this line will be 3 cm, which is the depth of the neck at the back bodice. Then drawing a straight line from the end of the perpendicular line. After that, I draw a slanted line to connect the end of the new straight line to the mast on the second one. I mark in the middle of this slanted line first, then connecting it to the end of the perpendicular line later. I keep marking in the middle of the new slanted line before connecting it to the mast on the second straight line and the end of the third straight line. Based on it, I draw a slightly curved line to create the neckline at the back bodice. From the cutting point between the second straight line and the horizontal line, I keep making another one at 19 cm, which is the half of the shoulder side. I mark inside 1.5 cm on the bust line, then connect this mark to the end of the shoulder line. I mark in the middle of this slanted line first, then connecting it to the mast on the bust line that I made in the beginning. I keep marking in the middle of the new slanted line before connecting it to the second mark on the bust line. Keep doing the same way like this for the new slanted line. Based on it, I draw a curved line to create the sleeve line of the back bodice. Second straight line, I keep drawing another one 50 cm away from it. It's the length from the shoulder to my hip. It's also the length of the jacket that I want. From the cutting point between this line and the horizontal line, I mark up 23 cm, which is a quarter of my bust side plus 3 cm. It's also the same width as the mast I made on the bust line before. Then connecting that mark to the end of the sleeve line on the bust line to create the side line of the back bodice. Add in 1 cm for seam allowance. After that, accept 3 cm seam allowance at the end of the back bodice. And we will have the back bodice pattern after cutting. You will need to cut this pattern in faux fabric at the horizontal line. Moving to the front bodice, I will base on the back bodice pattern to make it. Instead of creating the shoulder line from the second straight line, I do it from the first one. From the cutting point between the first straight line and the horizontal line, I mark at 8 cm on the horizontal line. It's the dip of the neck at the front jacket. Then drawing a curved line from the end of the new shoulder line to that mark to create the front neckline. In the buttonhole area, I draw a horizontal line at 2 cm outside the current one. 2 cm is the half of the width of the button area that I want. Then add in 1 cm for seam allowance after that, except 3 cm seam allowance for the ending line. And we will have the front bodice pattern after cutting. You will need to cut 2 pieces for this pattern in the opposite way. To make the sleeve pattern, I measure the total length of the sleeve line at the front and the back bodice first. After that, I draw a straight line and the horizontal line cutting each other. From the cutting point, I mark at 11 cm on the right side of the horizontal line. It's 1/5 my bust side minus 5 cm. After that, I draw a slanted line from this mark to cut the straight line at one point. The width of this slanted line will be a half of the total width of the sleeve line at the front and the back bodice that I checked before, minus 2 cm. I divide this slanted line into 3 equal parts. From the middle of the first 2 parts, I draw a perpendicular line 2 cm wide outside of it. I mark in the middle of the third equal part first, then drawing a perpendicular line a half centimeter wide inside the slanted line. After that, I draw a curved line that goes through on this mark to create the sleeve line for the sleeve pattern. Make sure the width of this sleeve line will be a half of the total width of the sleeve line at the front and the back bodice. From the top of the sleeve, I mark at 60 cm on the horizontal line. It's the length from the shoulder to over my wrist. It's also the length of the sleeve that I want. Then drawing a straight line from that mark. From the end of this straight line, I mark up 14 cm, which is a half of the width at the end of the sleeve that I want. Make sure this width will be bigger than the width of your hand so you can wear the jackets easily later. I connect this mark to the end of the sleeve line to create the underarm big line of the sleeve. I make this line a bit curved after that to make it nicer. Add in 1 cm for seam allowance after that, except 3 cm seam allowance at the end of the sleeve. And you will have the sleeve pattern after cutting. You will need to cut this pattern in 4 fabric at the horizontal line. To make the lining pattern, I will base on the main pattern, starting with the lining pattern of the back bodice first. From the neck of the back bodice pattern, I draw a curved line 8 cm inside it. Then I remove the seam allowance at the end of the back bodice, and you have 2 parts of the lining at the back bodice. You will need to add 1 cm for seam allowance at the new curved line you just made before. And here are 2 pieces of the lining pattern at the back bodice. Moving to the front bodice, I also draw a curved line at 8 cm inside the neckline. I also draw another straight line at 8 cm inside the middle line of the front bodice too. At the meeting between 2 new lines, I make it a big curve to make the connecting part smoother. I also remove the seam allowance at the end of the front bodice pattern too. And you will have 2 parts of the lining pattern at the front bodice after cutting along the new curved line. You will need to add 1 cm for seam allowance at that line after that. And here are 2 pieces of the lining pattern of the front bodice after on. For the lining pattern of the sleeve, I just remove the seam allowance at the end of the sleeve pattern, and you will have the lining pattern of the sleeve after that. Now let's start making this jacket. I use 1.5 meters of Tweed fabric in cream color and 1.2 meters of cotton fabric for the lining. I started sewing the bodice of the jacket first, and I want to have 2 front pockets for the jacket. I cut 2 rectangles with 14 cm width, which is the width of the pocket that I want, plus 2 cm for seam allowance, and 8 cm length, which is the length of the pocket that I want, plus 2 cm for seam allowance. I connect 2 rectangles together and sew at 3 angles of it, and keep one width line open. After Moving to the lining part of the bodice, I connect two pieces of the lining part at the back bodice together at the curved line. The main fabric and the lining fabric of the bodice part together at the neckline, button line, and the ending line. Then turning the inside face of the main fabric and the lining fabric of the bodice together through the sleeve part. Use the iron to keep on your folding in the seam to make the jackets look nicer. lining part outside to hide on the seam at the end of the sleeve inside. Then put the lining part inside of the sleeve after that. I cut a long fabric rectangle with 3.5 cm width and 2 cm longer than the total width of the sleeve line. I connect two length lines of the rectangle together to create the circle fabric first. Then I connect one side of the circle fabric to the sleeve line and sewing. This DIY. Here's my final result. I truly love how it turns out. This is not a complicated DIY, but the result is just stunning. It's perfect for this season, so I highly recommend you to try it out. See you next week!